Now, on the Commission President, from the outset, I've been clear where I stand on this issue. I firmly believe in the principle that the European Council should be the one to propose the candidate. And if you believe in a principle, you should stand up for it. That is why I stood firm in my opposition today. I believe that by working together, we could have found an alternative candidate who commanded the support of every member state, agreeing together on the best way forward. That has been the practice the EU has followed on every single occasion until today. And I think it's a serious mistake that other leaders decided to abandon that approach today. And it's why I insisted that the European Council took a vote. If the European Council, the elected heads of government, are going to allow the European Parliament to choose the next President of the European Commission in this way, I wanted it on the record that Britain opposed that. The Council voted to nominate Jean-Claude Juncker as the next President of the European Commission. Britain and Hungary opposed. We must accept the result, and Britain will now work with the Commission President, as we always do, to secure our national interest. But let me be absolutely clear. This is a bad day for Europe. It risks undermining the position of national governments, it risks undermining the power of national parliaments, and it hands new power to the European Parliament. It is therefore important that the European Council has agreed today to review what has happened and to consider how we handle the next appointment of the next Commission President next time around. Turning to the future, this whole process has simply reinforced my conviction that Europe needs to change. That was a clear message delivered by voters at the European elections. Europe has to change to succeed. And if you are deadly serious that you want change, as I am, then you don't back down when a vote goes against you. People need leaders who are willing to fight for change, whatever the obstacles, whatever the frustrations, whatever the cost in the short term. Leaders who, however difficult things get, don't give up, but resolve to persevere. When I say Europe needs reform, and the UK's place in Europe needs reform, I mean it. And I argued hard for reform today. Now, in respect to the Council's mandate for the Commission for the next 5 years, we made, with support from like-minded allies, some progress. It makes absolutely clear that we must focus our efforts on building stronger economies and creating jobs. That the EU should only act where it makes a real difference. Where it doesn't, it should leave it to nation states. It states that national parliaments should have a stronger role, and that we must deal with the misuse of freedom of movement by those who move to claim, not to work, an issue which so worries our peoples. We've also broken new ground in two specific areas. For the first time, all my 27 fellow heads of government have agreed explicitly that they need to address Britain's concerns about the EU. It is in the agreed conclusions the European Council issues today. The conclusions also state explicitly that ever closer union allows for different paths of integration for different countries and respects the wishes of those, like Britain, that do not want deeper integration. This is an important statement, but let me be frank, it is not the end of the matter. Far from it. The campaign to reform the EU has a long way to go, but on this issue of ever closer union, we've made a start. Much more change will be needed during the next few years, but I welcome the fact that we've embedded these issues in the Council's mandate for the Commission from the very start. So while Europe has taken one big step backwards today with their choice of Commission President, I've made some small steps forward, securing a new relationship for Britain in the EU. Now, of course, much more is needed, and that will require hard, patient, determined effort in the coming months. It will be tough, but I believe it is still possible. Today's outcome is not the one I wanted, and frankly, it makes it harder and it makes the stakes higher. This is an important stand, but it is far from being the last stand. My colleagues on the European Council know that I am deadly serious about EU reform, that I keep my word, that if I say I'm not going to back down, I won't. This is going to be a long, tough fight, and frankly, sometimes you have to be ready to lose a battle in order to win a war. It has only stiffened my resolve to fight for reform in the EU because it is crying out for it. It has made me even more determined to make the EU address the concerns of all those voters who are intensely frustrated with it and who demand better because they deserve a voice. Britain will be the voice of those people. We will stand up for them, we will make sure they are heard, and we will not be put off by what has happened here today. Britain is going to work with intensity and with grit to reform the EU day in, day out over the next few years until we achieve it. We've shown today that we will not be put off from that task, because the status quo is not right for the EU, and it is certainly not right for Britain. It has got to change. And at the end of 2017, it will not be me, it will not be the House of Commons, it won't be Brussels that decides about Britain's future in the European Union. It will be the British people, and it will be their choice and their choice alone.